Welcome to Getting to the Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. And today's guest is a singer-songwriter, an eclectic performer influenced by the local jazz sounds and her Brazilian, indigenous, and African heritage. Please welcome Cissa Paz. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here, Rob.
This is my pleasure. It's like I said earlier, bringing on someone. I like how when you walk from the outside to the inside, you had your weapon of choice. You had your guitar on hand always. I love it. So I gave the very, very 10,000 foot view of what your background is, but I think it's always best when the artist and the guest describes what their work is. So give us those vital stats. Describe your work. How'd you get started? Things like that.
Sure. So my name is Cissa Paz. Like you said, I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I've been living in the U.S. over 20 years. I was actually born in Belgium, just by chance, because my dad was working there. I don't know why, but people find that very interesting to me. It's just normal. But it is kind of strange because people are like, where in Brazil are you from? I'm like, Rio, I think. But I also assimilate with a lot of other places in Brazil, like Bahia and Brasilia, which are places that I lived and that I love. So it's a very big country. So it's kind of nice to be able to pick and choose. I've been doing music virtually my whole life, but I didn't start taking it seriously and really going into it as a profession until about maybe 9 or 10 years ago. And that's when I started singing in a band and I started getting out there performing. And then I started writing and I started studying more. I started getting more into my craft. And that's what I'm doing now. Right now I'm on a little sabbatical, but after that, I'm going to go resume to the studies and so forth. I always have my guitar near, like you saw, and it's my love, it's what makes me happy. So if I'm in a funky mood or something, or I'm too tired to do anything, all I can do is just play some music and it makes me happy. So, and that's what I hope to give to people as well. And I'm working on my second album now, but we can get more into that later. That's
great. That's great. And I think it's a key thing when you have whatever it is, that implement with you, whether it be if you're a musician, singer. So you have your guitar there with you. It's just like, it's an extension of you. For me, I am a nobody. No, I'm a podcaster. I'm a person that have to come down with ideas. I'm a thought guy. So I need to have a notepad with you. I need to always have something where I can just get down ideas and be able to come back to it. And so I definitely relate to always having your thing with you.
Yeah.
So what was the role of music early in your life, and what are some of your early creative influences?
You mean musicians or overall?
So I guess it's a two-part question, or it's really just two questions. So speak on the role of music early in your life, and what were some of your creative influences? So that can just be as broad as you want it to be.
Sure. So when I was 10, my dad gave me my first guitar. And I used to sit at home and listen to records, on my mom's record player, and memorize the songs and look at all the cool inserts and so forth. And how we used to do whoever remembers this is my age or older. And so that was kind of my first introduction to music. There's no musicians in my family, which is unfortunate. And there's very few artists. So I actually had to fend for myself and get out there and, meet people who were musicians. And that took a while. I started out as a dancer, and at first I wanted to be a dancer. And then I kind of had a baby kind of early, and, life happens and you just start living your life and trying to get by and trying to make money and, just trying to pay your bills. And I never forgot what I wanted, my dreams, like with the music and the dance. And I continued to do it, but it took a while for me to really, really get started. So in the beginning, it was more doing a lot of listening and understanding and trying to understand what was coming out and being really inspired by people like Gilberto Gil, Caetano Veloso, Elis Regina, Gal Costa, so many Djavan, so many other people that I am in love with. And till this day, I listen to on a regular basis. So they were kind of the foundation of my music. And then as time went on, I started opening my mind up to different different things and different rhythms and different ideas. And I moved to the States and I started getting really into soul music and R&B, old school R&B, and some hip hop. So there's that influence as well. And then there's the African influence, which is huge already in Brazil to begin with. And then kind of people going full circle now with communicating more with the internet and with collaborations. And so anyway, that's a really long-winded answer. I think I gave you more than what you asked for, but
I mean, more is better. This is definitely, I think, one of those things that I always have to go back and thank you for sharing that, by the way. But I always have to go back and think, who's it for? You know, who's the podcast for? And it's like it's for people who might be interested in the artist, but it's also people who are artists too. That it's like, yeah, so tell me more about your process. Oh, there is a way you can do that. Oh, life does happen. Right. And it's important to hear that from other people who are doing the thing, who are creating, who are making stuff. So it's big. So thank you for share away. So you touched on the new project forthcoming, and I want to learn a bit more about that. So I'll kind of open that question up by asking this question, or open that conversation up by asking this question. Describe your creative process when you're writing new music.
Sure. So I actually, let's see, when I was growing up and going through all this process that I was talking about with the discovering music and trying to understand it and so forth, I was afraid to write for a long time. And I was like, I don't think I can do this, you know, because writing was for the very famous and hot shots, you know, and I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then more recently, in the last maybe 7 or 8 years, I was like, you know what, maybe I can do this, because I always wrote a lot of poetry and just kind of kept it in a drawer somewhere. And I was like, let me take some of my poetry. Let me see if I can make it into a song. So that's what I started doing in the very beginning when I started writing. I started trying to put melodies to the poems. And you find that when you do that, you have to kind of change your phrasing or change your words, or maybe you want to make this rhyme, but that not rhyme. And this sentence has to be shorter or longer depending on your melody. And so it's almost like putting a puzzle together, you know. Yeah. Yes, I want the lyrics to say this, but I might have to say it with completely different words that I began with for it to actually fit into this melody that I really like, and I want to make the song into this. So that was kind of, for me, working backwards. And sometimes I still do it that way, but then I started studying more, and I started learning about theory and about harmony and about making things fit together in a way that's actually, I mean, I'm not going to say correct, because I don't think there's correct and incorrect. First of all, music is natural. Music is something that comes from the gods. It's something that is nature. It's completely, everyone is connected to music. We're all in this together. So it's not like we made it up. We did not make music up. Music is there for us, like the trees, like the wind, like the birds and all that stuff. So music is just another element, right? It's almost like another element. So I started learning how they kind of created the theory maybe behind it, or trying to understand it. You know what I mean? Almost like you have the Bible because you're trying to understand God and religion. You have music theory because you're trying to understand music. And then there's still some things that are like, don't really make sense to everybody. So anyway, so I started studying about that, and I was able to apply some theory to the compositions and try to become a little bit more fancy with things here and there, or just to make it actually easier to write, where if you follow some kind of a pattern, then it's actually easier. But then sometimes you follow the pattern, you're like, but I kind of want to put this chord in here. And so you go by feeling too, feeling and theory, and mix it all up.
So tell me about the new project. So where this is your second project, album, right? And where have you grown at musically from a songwriter standpoint from the first project to this project that's coming soon?
Yeah, I kind of touched on that already, talking about how I wrote before, mostly I using just my lyrics, just my poetry. And I gave it to someone in the beginning. I would give it to someone and say, hey, can you turn this into a song?
Yeah.
And then they would do it so it would be my lyrics and their music. But now I'm able to actually write my own music. And so I can do a whole song by myself, or I can collaborate with someone else, which I've done a lot of too, and which is really fun and amazing because they think of things that you don't think of and vice versa. And we're like, oh, wow, that was really cool. I would never have thought of that. So collaborating is very magical as well. So I've been doing a lot of that. And I'm working on my third album now because the second one has taken so long. Yeah, it's actually pretty much ready. It's just, there's some finishing touches. I'm waiting for a musician that has to record a few things for me. Hopefully in a couple of weeks, he's going to do that. And we just put down his piano a couple of weeks ago in DC. So there's just finishing touches, and then it's going to go to mix and master, and then it's going to be done. So I actually already have like another 4 songs ready for the third one, and I might be putting out an EP or maybe even a single before my second album comes out if it doesn't hurry up and come out. But it needs to come out this spring. So you said that this is going to air in March. So hopefully in March, by then I should have some tour dates. So maybe you can announce it somehow.
I like that. And I'll pull up, it's the whole thing like, hey, what's up? What it is. So I think that I know from my standpoint as a person around creatives and doing my own creative practice, I have a mantra or a thought process when I'm maybe performing. So I'll do podcast live, and there's always a performance component here. Like I'm vamping right now, So tell me about any mantra or thought process that you have in performing, because I hear that you're a fire performer. I've seen a few videos. I've seen some stuff out there. So how do you energize that audience and connect with them? So speak on your performing.
Performing for me is something that just it's hard to explain. So in the beginning, I used to get nervous about performing, and maybe it was not as natural. Now, thankfully, I feel more comfortable on the stage, and so I can just kind of be myself. And I think that when we're performing, no matter if you're new or you've been doing it for a while, you give a lot of yourself. And so I think that there's a certain time, and when you have a little bit of experience, you learn how to be careful about how much energy you give, because it can be very depleting. So I remember when I started performing, at the end of the performance, I would sometimes feel extremely exhausted and get like migraines or something because I was giving way too much. You know what I mean? Take my soul. Here you go. And now it's like, wait, the soul's mine. But here, let me show it to you. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. I've not had a lot of performance like opportunities, like doing live podcasts and things like that. I've done a handful of them, but they've been pretty decent sized ones and kind of important ones. So it's like the last one that comes to mind before the Inside Times, I'll call COVID, was our 10th anniversary show for my podcast network. And it was just like I fashioned myself as a MacGyver, as a problem solver. So it was just all types of problems. And I kind of went in without having the proper prep because I was solving and putting out so many different fires. And you're right. That energy was gone. I was like, I don't want to be on stage. I'm going to be lacking. I'm going to be beat. But I'm able to compartmentalize it in a way. And it came out really well. The performance, people liked it. People raved about it. But I was exhausted. I was like, I want a bed right now. I want to go to sleep. I want to be away from everyone. Exactly. You just want to be alone, close your door, and everybody leave me alone. Especially if you're an artist, because we tend to be very sensitive people and very sensitive souls. And so we get depleted more easily and we give more easily too. So we have to be careful. So we need to have that time to regroup and find our center again. And that's kind of sort of what I'm doing now. I'm taking a little bit of a sabbatical this winter. Of course, I'm still doing music because that's impossible to just completely be off of music. I don't want to anyway. I'm just not doing as many performances. I'm doing a couple in DC now, but after that, I'm probably going to be taking a little break and just working on my tour dates for the spring and my albums and things like that.
Yeah, it's important to be able to take those breaks. Like when I tell people like about like this whole podcast series, it's like, oh, I don't know the people really before I talk with them. It's like, how do you do that? I was like, with class and a lot of nice smiles, but really it's you're picking up so many different things that can happen. It's like, what if this person thinks I suck? What if this person's bad? What all of these what ifs, and it's definitely very draining. So I definitely relate to having to take that little sabbatical and still loving what you do because you're doing it because you love it. Not that it's a job or have you. It's like, no, I love doing this. And I had to take a sabbatical. I just had like, I'll do 10 to 15 interviews in a week. And it's a lot of energy coming in, different personalities, different sensitivities. So
interviews, I got to say, like, I like doing them, but I wouldn't be able to do 10, 15 a week. I couldn't do it. The time, like, no, I just want to sit here and play my guitar.
And I think with it, it's just like there's the research that goes into it. There's all of these different things that go into it, and it's still fun. And it's fun learning about, oh, wow, you do this really great art. Let me check this out. And at the same time, it's just like, all right, if this doesn't go well or if this gets canceled or what have you, you have to be able to take that time away to re-engage and recenter yourself, as you were saying. Mm-hmm. So what are some of your interests outside of your music, and what do you enjoy most about that interest or those interests?
Oh, I have a lot of interests, I guess. Woodworking is one of the ones that I'm kind of working on now because I'm designing a kitchen and making my own cabinets. So that's something that I love doing. I'm an amateur at it for sure, but I can cut a straight line, put some pocket hole joints together and make it look pretty. So, and it's really fun. I really enjoy doing that. It's very therapeutic for me. And to see the finished product, it's like writing a song. It's like, oh my God, look at my baby, it's nice. But I have a lot of things that I like doing. I love anything on the ocean. I love to travel. I love, what else do I love? So many things. Biking, hiking, playing with my dog, family stuff. But as far as hobbies, there's woodworking. Sometimes I do some jewelry making with copper jewelry. I do sewing also. Making. I was learning how to make clothing, but I'm doing too many things. So I was like, stop. So I do upholstery, and that's what I've done in the past. But maybe I'll probably pick it back up at some point and try to learn how to make clothing. I've made a few pieces of clothing here and there. So
you do a lot.
I like learning new things. I like novelty. So it's an interesting question because I do so much, and then there's the dance too, which was my first one. But because I do so much, I decided to focus on one thing. Not that I can't do other things, but focus on one thing. And that's what I did with my first album. It was almost like a wedding for me when I released my album, and it was the most stressful day of my life. It was so exhausting. I was beyond depleting, exhausting, stressful, anxiety creating. It was horrible and wonderful at the same time. But that was like my wedding. I was like, you know what? Today I'm going to marry music, and I'm always going to do music. And I can go and do sewing, underwater basket weaving, surfing, kite surfing, whatever I want to do. But I'm always going to come back to music. So I had to do that because I'm that person who's always like, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that. And, so I got to be careful. Anything. That's why I decided, I got to do music forever. I'll be learning music because then I'll keep getting better and better at it. And that's how that happened.
I love that where you're always, it's like, I may have these other interests, but I'm always going to be working and picking up different techniques and different ideas and lessons to be better and better and better at your major pursuit, your music. Mm-hmm. So I love that. All right. This is my last question before I get to my rapid fire questions. Okay. So is there a particular song or musical passage that never fails to move you emotionally?
There's a couple. There's one by Vinícius de Moraes that says, quando eu morrer, voltarei para buscar os momentos que não vivi junto ao mar. When I die, I will come back to retrieve the moments I did not live by the ocean.
Wow.
The ocean is very special to us, and definitely to me. And in Brazil, I think it's a sacred place. And there's the goddess Iemanjá from the Yoruba culture that we worship and we talk about in so many different songs, and it's part of the religion that we practice there, Candomblé. And so it's just a very special place, and that sentence or little piece of a poem touches me always. And then there's another one I'm trying to remember, Cissa Paz. No, it's not going to come to me. See, if I had read the question, I would have known. I would have searched it up, because now I can't remember what it is. But there's another Cissa Paz poem that I really like. It's not going to come to me right now.
No worries, but thank you for sharing that one.
There's also the Maya Angelou saying that that people won't remember what you say, but I'm paraphrasing terribly, but they won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And that resonates a lot to me as a musician, because that's what we do, right? When we're on stage and we're performing, when we're writing music, that we are moving people, or at least we hope so anyway, because we are being moved by what we're transmitting, and we want to be reciprocal. It's like a communication. So that one is a good one too.
Those are great. Now you have me. I am a black-hearted individual. I have a little mistiness right here. I don't. This is your fault. I'm blaming this on you. How dare you?
I'm sorry. Not really sorry.
I appreciate it though. If you're getting emotions out of this poor black soul here, you're doing something. All right. So I have my rapid fire questions, and essentially, just for the audience, I already told you how these work, but for the audience, these rapid fire questions are just whatever the answer is, that's the answer. It's like I said what I said. So you don't have to provide any extra context unless you really want to. So first question, what is your dream venue to perform at?
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. That's a hard question, because there's so many places I would love to perform at. In DC, I hope to perform at the Kennedy Center sometime soon. I performed at Strathmore a couple times. That was magical. I guess I'll stick with Kennedy Center for now, but there's a lot of venues, like even in Brazil. Yeah. Outdoor festivals make me really happy. So it doesn't even have to be a fancy venue, but if we're outside and people are having a good time and it feels nice and the vibe's right, like that's the perfect performing location. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't be grandiose or anything like that.
Next one. How would you describe a perfect day?
A perfect day. Wake up, go to the beach, do some running, some swimming, then go home, play some music, eat a nice breakfast. Eat a nice breakfast first and then play some music. Write some music, think about music. and then make a bunch of food. Friends come over and we play some more music, we dance, we vibe, and that's a happy day. Family.
What is your most prized or most valuable? No, let's go with most prized. What's your most prized material possession?
My guitars.
Well, that's what a musician would say. Yes, absolutely. See, I was waiting. I was like, are you going to say? I was going to ask it as your favorite guitar. Is like, no. What's your most prized possession?
My earring. No, I would say my guitar. Yeah.
What would your friends say that they appreciate most about you?
Gotta ask my friends.
What are their numbers now?
Maybe my energy, I guess. That might be what they say. My hugs.
All right, you're on brand. This is the last one. So you touched on it earlier. You got that first guitar when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And do you still have that guitar?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I knew what the answer was going to be. But I was like, you know what? I want to hear it from you. And I was like, okay, great. That's fantastic.
Paint it because it's not really playable anymore, but I've been meaning to paint something nice on it so I can hang it on the wall, but I still have it. I've never thrown it away.
That's great. So that's literally all I have in terms of questions. And I want to thank you again for coming onto the podcast. And with that, I want to invite you to shamelessly plug. What do you got coming up? Tell them to send them to the website, your social media, all of that good stuff. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob. And yes, please follow me. Cissa Paz Music is my Instagram. CissaPaz.com is my website. CissaPaz@gmail. That's my email. If you want to email, ask questions, you can put yourself on my mailing list if you go on my website. That's on there. Facebook, you can just search me up. You can search me up on YouTube. There's a bunch of videos there. And I try to be pretty active on Instagram. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail, but I'm always coming back to it eventually. So but you can always check that out to see what I'm doing, what I'm up to, watch videos of me playing guitar and singing to the phone, things like that.
So thanks again. So I'll do my sign off here. So for Cissa Paz, I am Rob Lee saying that there's art in and around your neck of the woods. You just got to look for it.